So, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge vom Greenlight Podcast. Heute wieder mit einem sehr, sehr spannenden Gast. Ich fange jetzt ganz kurz in Deutsch an und sage euch, wer das ist. Und dann müsst ihr auf Englisch zuhören. Also konzentriert euch. Das kriegt ihr aber alle hin. Da bin ich fest von überzeugt. Ich bin heute mit Pierre zu Gast. Pierre ist ein gebürtiger Afrikaner, der dann zur Fremdenlegion gegangen ist, nach seiner Fremdenlegion zurück in seine Heimat gekehrt ist und jetzt dort verschiedene Sachen macht und viele verschiedene Sachen gemacht hat. Da werden wir jetzt näher drauf eingehen und vor allem auch auf seine Zeit als Fremdenlegionär. So, we're ready for takeoff, Pierre. So, welcome to the Greenlight Podcast.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We just talked a couple of minutes before we started recording just to get to know each other a little bit more because we were connected over a third-party person here in Germany. And he told me that you are an exciting personality who's done lots of interesting stuff in his life. And especially for my community, I'll call them, they love stories about military and all what's connected with it. So, and you ended up in the French Foreign Legion at some stage in your life.
Yeah.
And I would first of all like to know, how was it growing up in South Africa? Is it correct?
Yes.
Because that's definitely interesting.
Basically, the story starts in like small towns always, called Delareyville. It's in the Transvaal, and from there we ended up in the big cities, Johannesburg, which is much different. The crime rate and everything is much bigger there. But then when I grew up, it wasn't the case. It was, as you know, in the old Apartheid era, which was totally different than nowadays. So, I grew up in the old Apartheid times.
Okay, so for everyone, including myself, are not in the whole political theme South Africa. Everyone knows it's a very, very complicated situation because obviously you are a white African. So everyone who's listening can't see you. So you are a white African. So I suspect your descendants are from the Netherlands, or is that correct?
French, neither Dutch, yeah.
French, never Dutch. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
a little bit
cool.
of both.
Okay, so can you tell maybe me and the listeners a bit about living like the apartheid? Like, I know it's been racial, blacks and whites being strictly separated, having different privileges. Is that correct?
Yes. On those times, you had two different schools. You had a black school and then a white school. So the respective skin color went to their respective schools in that manner. So the schools were also not, as I can say, the inner city schools would be white, and then on the outskirts towards the how can I say, to the rural areas. Oh, in your case, I learned it from Alex, the ghettos. That would be then the areas where the black schools would be.
Okay, so can we say which years is this? Can you round about? I can't.
This would be from 19. Like me, was born in 1977. So all out through from the 60s onwards. Up to 1995, when apartheid finally got banned and Mandela took over. So it was that whole era from the 70s through the 80s and then into the early 90s.
Okay, so how was that like racial awareness as a kid or as a youth? Was that much of a topic, or was it just like normal life and it was normal for you that it was separated?
For us growing up in the rural areas on the farms and stuff, it was basically the normal day. We played with the kids that worked on the farm as well, our age, and some of the schools were mixed on the farms. But as soon as you get to city life, the whole dilemma, it's different. Everything is different. You strictly stay to your race. Your school is at your race. Everything, even the shopping areas. Some shopping areas were totally closed down. And only the whites may enter and only the blacks may enter from a certain area. and don't have access to the whole complete shopping area. But yeah, as far as I was concerned, like I'm from a farm background, to me it was basically every day is the same. And I know from other experiences later in life, like some of the black guys that I know that served with me in the police and stuff, it was totally different for them at the end of the day. But also in their views, and they've got positive and negative views as in every situation.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah. It's always, yeah, interesting. So how did you grow up? So you said you've got like a farm background, so you were living on a farm. How's like the school system in South Africa, sports? How's like the nightlife? How do you like grow up as a teenager?
Yeah, no, definitely different in the cities. As I say, the cities are quite bigger than the farm rural areas. Schools were great. Sports were your normal Afrikaner sports would be rugby, and for the girls it will be netball. And then you have your odd and out cricket guys, and then athletics. But it was rugby at the end of the day. You had to play it. You have to do it. It's like a must in school. You didn't have a choice. And growing up in that era when there was still war in Southwest Africa, just north of South Africa, the kids went to a thing called cadet. That is an early school age where they give you like military uniform, and you started drilling, getting the discipline, all those things, learning the berets and all that kind of stuff. So we were in the cadets. So yes, in an early age you learn it, because after school, I think it was from 18, you had to enlist in the military. It was a must. You don't have a choice. If you didn't have an invitation from a college after you finish your school education, you had to go to the military or the police, and you can choose. It's your choice.
Okay, well, that's super interesting because I like cadets. I know about the British Army. I don't know if they still do, but in Great Britain they have cadets as well. My sister had to go, and I know my dad. He joined the British Army when he was like 16. So the first year and a half, I think, is like cadets as well. So you don't do real weapon training; you just get drilled and marched around. So you're ready for
the same in school.
Yeah, so you're ready for the real armies then as soon as you're like 17 and a half, I think. So I think that's like a similar system maybe. What I think is very interesting, like conscription army, like Germany always had one. We stopped having a conscription army, I think 2011. We postponed the conscription army, but before that we had it. It was also mandatory if you weren't in an apprenticeship or in college. Yeah. But you can only go to the army, or you could do like, don't know what you would call it in English, like help out in health service, like in hospitals or...
being doctors or nurses,
Yeah, they're doing like low-level jobs there because lots of people said, I don't want to do anything with rifles, guns and whatever. So they said, okay, then do something else useful. But interesting, you could go to the police as well. That's pretty interesting. So you could choose going to the police or to the military. And for how long did you have to stay?
Well, the military used to be, I'm not sure about the years. The police was career, but you can also do the military as a career. But you have on both sides, you had your 6 months basic and then a little bit of battalion work, and then you were shipped off to what is now called Namibia in the north, where there was no war. So you were out of basic training as a young guy, and then you went, and then they send you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Before we catch on, like, because I suspect that's how you ended up going military, then you went, you were deployed, and then you carried on your pathway. But was the thing military police, is that something that was always interesting for you, like growing up as well, or did you have other plans for your life originally?
No. My uncle was a police officer in the South African Police Services. My father was an old tank commander in the military, and then he transitioned to education. So that whole thing used to be in the family. My sister, which is 10 years older than me, she used to work at a military Air Force base in Pretoria. So yeah, that stayed in our family quite a bit. My other uncle was a commander in the Air Force base. So
he was born into it, more or less.
yeah.
Yeah, isn't a bad thing. So, going to school, just because I always find interesting, how was you like as a teenager, as a kid? Were you someone who enjoyed going to school, doing study work, or more like, I don't really like going to school, I like doing sports, I like being on the farm, I like being outside? Someone who got into trouble with the teachers, or were you a sensible kid?
And no, unfortunately, I was a bit of a loose head. I was a bit more on the nature side and trying to get out. But unfortunately, my father and my mother were teachers in my school. So I had no choice. My father was my principal of the school, and my mother gave me actual mathematics. So
Okay, that would have
I
been
was,
a nightmare for me.
yes, that was a bit a knock. I took a big knock there. I couldn't do as I want, and my homework had to be done. So yes, no, I did education as good as it got, and I transitioned into what we call I went to a mechanical school where you learned your being motor mechanics or joiner, panel beating, and those things. So I went into that a bit in my school career. So after that, I went back to Cape Town and actually finished my standard 9 matric in an English school, which was totally different because I was always in Afrikaans schools. So
Okay.
that was a big step.
So the language you would be speaking is Afrikaans. Is that the main language you would be speaking?
For the Afrikaners at that time, yes, and now, but it's a language on its own. I think it's quite new. I'm not sure about the whole language on its own thing, but I heard what I heard was it was announced that it's a language quite recently. So yeah.
Okay, so you speak English. Obviously, we're speaking English and Afrikaans and maybe French.
Yeah. I speak a little bit of French, understand French, and then also with German. I also speak a little German and understand it quite well.
Okay, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah. Now,
Uh,
Namibia is a German country, so it's fine.
yeah,
It's not a German influence.
has been influenced by Germany. Yeah. Okay, so you ended up in the army. Is that correct? Conscription. So they said you're ready to go, army or police. Then you started.
I actually missed it with, I think, a year or two. That it was not, they stopped the whole thing of you must go to the army or must go. And I just missed it by a year or two. So I had choices to go wherever I wanted to. And I ended up in a security company first. And we used to wear the old brown uniform as the old South African military. So the whole thing started there, and it was also run by an old soldier. He was the owner of the company. And yeah, that's where I started with the whole discipline thing, just straight out of school.
Okay. Was there not the option? Because now you said you went into like a security company. Was there no possibility, or did you not want to go to a military because it wasn't mandatory, but you could have gone like on a free will, or did they close that whole thing down?
Yeah, the whole thing came after Namibia got its independence. West Africa got its independence from South Africa at that time. So then everything stopped.
Oh,
I got disconnected there. Sorry.
okay, now I can hear you good again.
Okay. No, when Southwest Africa got its independence, basically what happened was it was not mandatory anymore. So, yeah, the whole, how can I say, military system broke down in Namibia. And the whole transition came in. So the whole glory and, that you want to go just isn't there anymore.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So that the army changed, police changed, everything. So from there, I went straight into security with ex-soldiers and stuff.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. Downsizing the military, obviously, because there's not much need for it anymore. And then, okay.
It's a new
so
government. Total new government took over everything.
So you ended up then going after school, going into this security company, doing like if I'm talking about security company, like here in Germany, we would be thinking of like basic security stuff, like being a bouncer at a club, watching, I don't know, different premises, basic stuff. So that wouldn't be anything too wild or dangerous in this place. If someone says I'm going into security work,
in those years,
yeah.
Those years, it was quite calm. So it was more housebreaking into industrial areas, which is the big thing those years. But like I said, security companies those days were the normal thing. Armed response to alarms or housebreakings, that type of stuff, bouncers, a guarding of property and that stuff. So it was quite basic. And crime was very low then because of all the transitioning taking place, everything changing from a white government to a black government. So, that whole thing changed. So crime was quite low back then. Wasn't that high.
Okay, so when did you then decide, okay, you're ready for the next adventure? You want to head up to Europe and join the French Foreign Legion? Was that something you were thinking about a longer period of time, or was it something you said you just woke up mornings and said, "That's it, I'm going"?
It caught my eye a few years back. All the movies you see, the old movies about the Legionnaires in Morocco and things like that, and I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme played one as well in one movie at one stage, one
So
another.
He got you in
He
there.
was a big thing those years. And now I joined the South African police services after I left the companies in Namibia. I went back to South Africa. So I first joined the South African police services and then went to the flying squad there. And from there, everything developed into the whole Legion thing.
Okay, so how's like the life as a police officer, South Africa police officer? And you said flying squad. I can't really put that into context of like something like snatch and grab or doing like real hits on targets that have been planned. Is that something they would be doing?
No, flying squad was the first responders. We got the nice Golf GTIs, the nice M3 BMWs. You got the nice vehicles to drive with. So that was your first priority as a young man, was to get a GTI. Your hands on a GTI with blue lights and siren. It was the best thing in life. But it was also the worst thing because South Africa was at a very bad stage then, with a lot of crime, a lot of riots. The police officer murder rate was more than your normal street murders. So it was at a very bad stage then. But we were the first responders to all violent crimes, or any crime for that matter.
Okay, I could probably imagine obviously the whole system being renewed, new government, etc. As I said, I'm not too up to date at all about the political situation in South Africa, so I'll be very careful trying to dance around it, because I know now, probably at that stage, maybe a lot of violence coming from the black population against whites, because they've been suppressed for a long time. Now they're not anymore. There's like more revenge feelings. Is that something what was going on, or was it more poverty, and out of poverty, obviously, crime is born, isn't it?
I would say a little bit of both. I think the poverty was the most driven fact, but then you get your criminals that will play that card or to get away. So but unfortunately it didn't work. So no, that time it was. I would say most of the crimes hit everybody a lot. Every ethnic group. I mean, it was even so much violence on blacks. The gangs. Gang wars were very high those years. Yeah, and then you get your violence against color as well, and then ethnic groups also.
So how would you now, from your position point of view now, being in security business all over the world and for many years, how would you rate your police training to that time? Were you well trained, well equipped, or was it a bit of a maybe undertrained and under equipped for that purpose you were fulfilling?
Well, what I can say now is that when we got training from South African Police Services, it was done still in an old manner. How can I say that? The more the police officers with skill, with they had experience. So your training is very good because they were very experienced in the level of crime and violence. So they were exposed to it, and then they entered the training programs, and then you as a young police officer cadet, you get very well trained. The whole system started going down a few years later, where I hear from friends that I know that the training is just not up to standard for some, even for Namibia is as well. I mean, the guys just don't get the training. It's more about the yelling and breaking down the person and actually teaching them something.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely not the way to go. I think, in my opinion, it's something a part of, depending on which unit you want to go to, it's definitely part of it to get introduced. I think we might catch on this topic with the French Foreign Legion, because I imagine that's the way they start off as well, with breaking people down and then building them up and then starting teaching, which is a way to go, definitely, to see who's worthy enough to be trained. But obviously, if you only do shouting, only do drills, only humiliate people and don't teach them anything, it's not really worth much, is it? So
No.
Okay, so how long were you in the police, in the South African police?
There was just a couple of years, and when was this? It was from 95 around to, I would say, 98. Yeah, 95 to 98. Yeah, just a couple of years there, spent there. And then 99, I sold everything.
Okay, yeah. This is definitely in a very exciting part, because I think, well, not every man on the world, but at least most men doing police work or military work have definitely, maybe at some stage of their life, had at least like a 10-second thought about the Foreign Legion. Maybe it's maybe that's something for me, like an adventure, whatever. I just fairly recently thought about it very shortly. It's nothing I would do now, because I'm single parenting my daughter, so it wouldn't be possible. But just now transitioning out and being a civilian, I was like, somehow I do feel the need of, I don't know, being yelled at again and being tortured for a couple of years, and maybe the Foreign Legion would suit this purpose. So I think everybody's thought about it at some stage, and maybe thought about it more intense, or at least just like, it would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I still miss it though.
And I actually only know one person, not very good, but I've talked to him a couple of times. He was there for 5 years as well. I think he went very young, with 18, and no, I met him, he was 24. And he told some stories, and I've been at the registration camp or in Strasbourg. I don't know what it's called. We've got like that big, because a friend of mine lives nearby. So we checked it out, and pretty funny, because you see like the barbed wire is inwards, not like outwards, so you don't break in. It's inwards, so you don't break out. So that's the first thing. You're like, this is more like a prison than anything else. But pretty cool. So you sold everything, you left your home place, and you traveled across the world from your place. It's 10-hour flight probably to France.
Yes, I went to Paris, Well, I can't remember the fort's name because I just came off the plane. I didn't have anything to eat, even nothing, and then I walked out the door into two Legionnaires, and I showed them the pamphlet that I got from the French attaché in Namibia, and I showed them the pamphlet, and they just told me one like grabbed me on the arm, put me in a military vehicle, and off we went. And the next thing I know, I was standing in front of this huge wooden door with big walls. You cannot see anything inside. And then suddenly I was in a little room with a white light that was irritating as hell for hours and hours and hours. Didn't know what was going on. Just sitting there in silence, total silence with this light going bzz, 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 bzz above your head.
So that's a good introduction into the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And there was a sergeant that came out. He was a Chinese guy, and I still see him in some of the new videos. I still see the guy. He's still a sergeant,
Okay.
so I guess he did something wrong in his life. He doesn't want to go further. I think he's a badass, but yeah. I still see him, and he just zipped open my backpack and threw everything out and told me, "This you'll never see, this you'll never see again, this you'll never see again," and that was it. And then I gave him my passport, and I had to follow him in. Had a spot of a French lunch, which was totally different than I'm used to in Africa. And with this funny sausage I never ate in my life before. That was the first thing. And then they whisked me off to a very small office where a very nice French guy was sitting with a big book and told me my new name, my new birth date, my new place of birth. Everything changed from there, and I never saw my passport again.
Oh, so this is interesting because this is actually one of the questions as well I had, and someone asked as well. So this is really like a true scenario. You come in, you get a new name and a new passport, and that's all, not just in the books. That's real life how it happens.
Yeah, you get a new name. They basically tell you a new name, a new date of birth. I was at that time was Roy Dooley, so it was totally different, and I was American, apparently. And my mother and father lives also in Montana or somewhere. I should actually get the notes out. I actually made notes about this just to remember it. I had to remember this whole scenario. And then, you definitely live under anonyma. They took my camera away. We had this little box cameras, you used to wind up.
Oh, yeah,
you can take a picture, then you wind to the next one. They took it. They totally destroyed it at the gate. There was not even in my bag. It was destroyed. And then, yes, that I never saw again.
So not a good life for an Instagram influencer. All camera gear destroyed. No. It's not what they're about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how much did you know about the French Foreign Legion starting there? Were you like well informed? Did you read lots of books, or did you say, "Yeah, I've seen books. I've seen Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's enough. I'm ready to go." Or
that's about what information you had, because they lived in very total secrecy in those years. I mean, there wasn't anything about them. I went to ask at the French embassy, and this attaché took me into a room, and he closed the door. Everything was closed. He didn't talk about it. And then he told me, "Well, are you sure you want to do this? Because it's not going to be easy, this, and this." And he gave me all the rules and regulations. And I said, "Yeah, I really want to go there." And that's all the information I had. I had a piece of paper, what I should bring, what I should not bring, what I should have. And that was it.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because, I'm talking about nowadays. I'm obviously not that old and can't say about olden days and nowadays, but obviously the information you get online to nearly all units on the world is pretty decent. There's quite a lot of information, what requirements, what you have to expect, and so on and so forth. So you would maybe think, okay, it's a better position for people to start, but still, the passing rates on selection, like in Germany, definitely, and I know US and UK, all special forces or specialized units, the passing rates for selection are really, really down low. and they've been sinking the last years. And it's funny because actually you should be better prepared because you know what's coming. But I always think sometimes it is a lot better not to know what's coming, just to be prepared with the unprepared and just get on with it. Because, like, for an example, I had to do my selection twice because I didn't make it the first time. And I did like halfway through, I dropped out. And then obviously the second time, and I was already feeling really battered after day one. And I already knew, okay, I know the next 2 days are going to be really, really a pain in the ass, obviously. And it's hard on your mind to then push through if you know what's coming. Sometimes getting punched by surprise is a bit more pleasant.
I've got that same mentality. I think the unknown is better to me because I'm on my feet. I know how to handle it from a still standing position. Then, yes, I think not knowing was the best thing that happened to me, because you prepare yourself mentally for something. Oh, it's going to be difficult, and if it's too difficult, you kind of, not me, but I know some people tend to shut down and not push through. And I think the not knowing was that push I needed to go more, and just say, well, there's no end. Let's just do it. Get it on with, because you're not going anywhere. Just do it.
You've got no camera, no passport. There's nowhere to go anymore.
You don't even know where you are.
But how would be the physical requirements just to start off in the Legion? Do they not do like a pull-up test or something with you at the beginning?
They have like a stupid little. It was a basic test, but it was basically, it was a borderline to get your less physical guys out, I would say, or injuries, not to have an injured guy faking it through the whole time, and then finding out as soon as he signed his contract, now he's on your medical bill for the rest of his life, and he cannot walk. So I think that thing, that's what it designs for, but it's not like a physical fitness like we had in the police services, where if you don't make a 2.5 kilometer in 12 minutes, you're not there. Done. If you cannot make 50 push-ups, you're not there. Done. If you at least cannot do 20 pull-ups, you're not there. So that was a requirement. With them, it was how can I say, it's more like a line. So if you're a bit below it, you better work harder because your next physical is coming up. So, and you get beaten. You signed everything away. You get beaten. Done.
Okay, yeah. So I get it. They just want to check that you're healthy. Probably like the old days, like coming back from a slave ship, checking your teeth, checking if you're healthy enough to fulfill the service. Okay. So you did that, and then how do you start off? Okay, they took all your stuff away, gave you your new name, and then you're off to boot camp someplace.
You first sit around a lot. That was quite the worst thing that happened to me. I think for the whole through the whole selection process, the sitting and doing nothing was worse than, I would say, the worst punishment they gave us. Because you sat in Paris, we sat for 2 weeks in a room watching the same propaganda video over and over and over the whole day. You were so happy if you had to do manual labor outside. You would like scream, please take me out. I want labor. I don't want to sit here. And you had this horrible, too small for your body tracksuit on. And after a few weeks, I actually heard it was like it's a test. It's a physical thing. They either give you 3 sizes too big, or they gave you 1.5 size too small. So it is a total uncomfortable thing that you're in, and you sit with it for 24 hours a day. So it's kind of a test. And after that, they whisk you off to the train station, and then it's Castelnaudary. So sorry, not Castelnaudary, Albania.
Oh yeah.
And that's where the Premier Regiment Étranger. So that's where you basically start off with the selection process. That's where you start. I think it was Jaune Vert Rouge. Yeah. So it was the first one. You're still in your your horrible little tracksuit, and you sit around and stuff. And then when you proceed in the morning, you'll get on a parade, and the names they call is the names that's going home. So you would dread it if they call your name. And there we had the physical test. Then you have the mental tests. Then you have the, what was the other one? The medical tests done. And then you proceed one extra, which is weg. And then from there, you know you're a bit closer to Rouge. Once you are Rouge, you are good to go. You're engagé volontaire from then. And then, so that stages is pretty hectic. It plays with your mind a lot. And they play games like you can't go to the toilet certain times of the day. You can't drink water certain times of the day. And you just sit around, and they give you, they set you on a place where there is equipment to practice. You know, body weight equipment like pull-ups and dip machines and things like that. But you're not allowed to use them.
Okay.
It's right in this area where you can do something and you're not allowed to use it. So the frustration was this. That gets to you a bit of not doing anything.
Yeah, I can imagine. Definitely, like just like 2 weeks sitting around, not really doing anything, not talking, and probably not socializing with anyone else. Or were you able to like connect with other fellow people who are in for the journey?
Yes, that was a great time for me, because I'm like this. I can't say I'm a loner at one stage, but when you are so in an area where you are feeling now you're quite alone, you tend to go and you start, the process of starting to learn people. And I found a Belgian guy who spoke Vlaams, so it's close to Afrikaans. So we connected quite well. And then I went and I found an Australian guy, which is out of his world. I think he barely made the mental exams. He barely got through.
Okay.
Because he was a funny guy on his own. And he actually came from the Australian paratroopers. And then you've got they all made these groups, like the Polonaise, the Russians. The rest were all single guys, like a Portuguese guy. He was alone. One Japanese guy, and then two Chinese guys were there. But the rest were like big groups, especially from Europe. Germany, I found 2 guys as well, which I connected well with. And we formed our little group. And as you have your little group, it tends to go one way or the other. You hear the name call, and then you're not seeing that guy ever again.
And I think that's a big part of, I think, maybe also people maybe misunderstanding like the harshness in military at some certain stages, like basic training and stuff. It just has to be rough, because what you just described, that's what happens then, isn't it? If times get hard and rough, you're going to connect with the people around you. You're going to bond with them. You're going to build like camaraderie. And at the end of the day, that's what you really, really want to have. And I think I can only speak like for German and European armies, all a bit the same at the moment. They're all downgrading on this like harsh training, being very harsh to the people, which I do understand why they're doing it. Obviously, they want to have, it's 2024, they want to have human rights, people being treated properly, which is good.
Yeah.
But they're forgetting this part, what happens in these times when it's just hard times. You're going to connect with the people, and at some time you want to go into some deployment or whatever with these guys, and it's definitely better having a close-knit community, as you probably built with those guys you were in the Legion with.
Exactly. I mean, we didn't even notice, but we started the brotherhood from day one, and you don't even notice it. After a few years, you go back and you think about it, and damn, we were actually our own support system, just guys you never met. They don't have the same background. One is a very hardened criminal. The other one is used to be a pilot for the RAF. So you've got this wide range of personalities, and you start developing this brotherhood between you.
Yeah, that's something I always loved about the military, and I think in the French Foreign Legion, it's probably even more, as you just said, having people, very interesting people from all kinds of places, growing up differently, and even just like Germany isn't a huge country, but still some people never leave their hometown. They're just like in their own state, and they've never been to Bavaria, for example, which is like a bit different culturally. They just have different traditions. They speak a bit different. And this is just one country, and that's always interesting to see. Okay, he's wearing lederhosen. He's not.
Yeah.
They all drink beer. That's all in common, but there's still like
Yeah.
just differences. How was it in the Legion? You said you had 2 Germans. I think in days like after World War II, there was lots and lots of Germans going into the Foreign Legion. So I think there's still quite a big German influence in the Foreign Legion with like marching songs and stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, there was some songs that we had that was actually from Germany, but they introduced them in French, basically. So you sang them in French at the end of the day, some of the songs. And there were some songs that I know from my growing up in Afrikaans that we also heard. And we just the manner of saying the words differently, that's all.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, really cool. All international people getting together. So, what would you think? What kind of people were there? Because I would think, like, no, I would think, but like, people think about the Legion. You can go there as a criminal. Your criminal record is then deleted. So that would definitely put in quite a few criminals. How did you feel about the whole thing? Were there still like decent people, or were there quite a lot of very rough people sneaking into the Legion as well?
No, they were a bit rough guys, roughnecks and so on. But the thing was, the Legion's discipline and laws were so strict. These guys couldn't actually, they were so suppressed at the end of the day. There's no, but this guy, we had a guy that was there who assaulted many people, and he was actually looked for, and he was the most down to earth guy in the group. And you even get specialized units guys as well. Like I say, the Australian was a paratrooper, and he was from the paratroopers, and then you get Russian paratroop infantry guys there as well. So there was a couple of guys with some serious backgrounds, and everybody was so down to earth.
It's pretty cool topic, because I don't know if you've seen it. There's some like an American, like I've just noticed him a couple of weeks ago, more or less famous. He was a Navy SEAL, but was kicked out of the SEALs at some stage because he was arrested a couple of times and was up to trouble. And he then ended up going to the Legion as well. And we had dropped out of the Legion now sometime, did his 5 years, I think. And now he's like out and doing a podcast and interviews. So that's why I saw him. So that's someone who definitely did quite a bit of military training beforehand. And
yes.
And he just
that's always advance. I mean, my police training also put an advance in, but the problem is you're moving into something there's a different language. Everything is different. The way they march, the way they sing, the way they do stuff. The way you even clean a floor is different. They make it as hard as possible.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how did you start? So you like start basic training probably as well, like the Legion does basic training with you. If we what would your take be on the basic training? Was, I could imagine, lots of cleaning, running.
Lots of it. You start off in Castelnaudary, and then from there they take you actually a place called the farm. And you first get your uniforms and stuff, and then you go to a place called the farm. And that is where the roughing up starts. That is where no one can hear you scream, basically. So this is very interesting. You get rooms, big rooms, and then all of us have stretchers and sleeping bags and some blankets. And this was the start of winter. When I went, I didn't know that. I didn't take the seasons into account when I left Namibia. It was still summer here, and ended up in winter in France, which was a totally eye opener because I've never seen so much rain in my life.
Yeah.
And even afterwards, the snow, it was amazing. And you would start off by standing naked, and they will spray you with water the whole time, ice cold water, and you have to chant these French chants, and you don't even know the word. You just mumble something, and it just continues for hours and hours until the dawn, and then you get your wet clothes back, and then you go for half a breakfast because they break it up halfway. So basic training basically started as a whole breakdown service. And they did it quite well. I mean, the third day, you were already so exhausted and down, you didn't know left from right. I mean, they would teach you left and right, and when they say left, you do a total about turn. All your senses broke down, and you were just going. Just the machine took over. Just the body is moving, but nothing is there. Lights are on, but there's no people in the city in the living room. So yeah.
So, but this is like a what was like a motivation to keep going? There's definitely different kinds how you think about things. Was it like a higher motivation, or was it just like you never thought about quitting? Was just like, yeah, okay, this is what it is. This is what I signed up for, and it'll be over sometime. Or did you have some different motivation to stick through the harshness?
Yeah, I mean, other guys, the motivation was they cannot go back home. Me was a volunteer who didn't have any prior crimes committed or anything. I went there because I wanted to be there. That's where my mentality sat. And my mentality was, okay, it's freezing water. Fuck it, let's go. Let's do this. When I'm in the water, my mindset would change and go, fuck, this is not where you belong. It's cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have that two-way mentality that's always pushing against each other because I really wanted to be there. There was an urge in my life. I wanted to be there. I didn't need to be there. I wanted to be there.
Okay, that's cool. Especially the one thing you said I think is really cool is your mindset said, yeah, I don't give a shit. It's just cold water. When you're under the cold water, then you're like, oh, this really does get on my nerves. I don't want to be here because at the moment it's a big topic, like mindset, motivation, how to think about stuff, going on to selection and whatever. And obviously everyone's got their own mindset and everyone thinks about stuff different and gets through stuff differently.
Yeah.
But this is something I think is missed quite a lot. But obviously if I'm sitting here, I can say, yeah, I don't care. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to get cold. That's one thing, but getting cold and really being there and then to accept that it sucks, that's a big part. Just to say, yeah, obviously I'm not standing there, yeah, give it more to me. It's more like, yeah, this is really annoying. I don't like it. I want it to stop. When it stops and when you're fine again, and then you're like, oh, I'm good again. So it's always like an up and down. And
yes,
I think very seldom people are really like David Goggins that are being soaked wet, freezing the whole time and still like, yeah, give me more. And most people are going to be a bit whinily in the inside during these things, and that's okay. And I was just swearing the whole time. Every time I was doing stuff like I was just swearing, and I was.
Oh yes, no, definitely.
Got me through it anyway. I wasn't happy.
Yeah, the mindset changed after the first 3 months. I mean, your mindset goes over to something else, and then you just go, okay, it's been 3 months. Let's just do this. Let's give the best, give it all, and push through. So then you start making the mental change, because, like I said, in the first days, you clean your weapon for 24 hours standing. 24 hours, you have to clean something. If I cleaned harder, parts would be missing. So, there's no end and there's no point. The point is to break you down. And you are there standing alone. You're not allowed to talk to your fellow engagé volunteer next to you. So you have only your own thoughts. And so that's where the time when you start thinking, oh, hell, I made a mistake. And then you go, oh, it's not that bad. It's 24 hours, maybe. You hope so. And then you start thinking, oh, what is breakfast going to be? And, then your mind starts playing games with you. But like I say, after the first 3 months, when you start going out on the bivouacs and digging your own foxholes and things like that. I mean, yeah, you're not doing anything. You play with blanks and stuff, but then you start going, fuck yeah, this is where I want to be. This is getting exciting. And then the whole different mentality takes over. You change into this whole different guy.
Yeah, the cool stuff starts, and like the Legion probably does, you have to deserve this cool stuff before you get started. So first you have to show your worth, get that stuff done, and then we can go out and do cooler stuff. Now people want to skip the hard part. They all want to do the cool stuff straight away, and they're like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. Don't really see, okay, which pathway led people to do this job. What hardships have they already endured? Which training have they already done? Normally it's like younger soldiers always like admire special forces soldiers. They're like, oh, that's cool, I want to do it as well. But just to want to do that one part, like coming in with a helicopter, yeah, obviously everyone wants to do it. But the way, the pathway that brought you to riding on that helicopter in that situation, it's very long and very hard way. And not a lot of people are ready to commit to that kind of stuff. So I think people lose track too early, aren't committed long enough to a journey to achieve the purpose they actually want to. So
Definitely.
After basic training, how is it? There's different regiments in the different regiments in the Legion. Is that like you're just going to be posted to one, or can you apply to serve in a certain place? Because they're all different locations as well, is it?
Yeah. They asked us in the beginning where you wanted to go. I from the first day I put in the two infantry units, the two different infantry units. So the one is in French Guiana, the other one is in Nimes, in mainland France. So then you've got the 12e Rep, which is the parachute regiment. You've got the cavalry, you've got the génie. So, you've got the mountaineering and the engineering corps, and then you've got your cavalry corps. So interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. But before I started choosing, I actually had the opportunity to speak to one of the special forces guys, and he explained his kit. He was actually by accident explaining his kit to a couple of French reporters, and we were standing in the shadows in the background, just admiring the whole dude. And he's like, yes, the dude he's got this V-tapered shape. He's this tall guy, everything you think a special forces guy would look like. And then after a while, he just started talking to us, and he told us the requirements and the daily process. And I just went and I said, fuck no, that's not me. That is not me. I'm not made for getting up at 5, jog 20 Ks, come back, do this, do that, lie on your own space for 24 hours to 2 days, and then do that. No, I don't want to be a sniper. I don't want to be special forces. So I decided, no, tick the 2 boxes, infantry. Just go with the grunts. So yeah, and then after Castelnaudary, you go back into the small office where the captain is, and he will give you your lieutenant and so on will be there, and then he'll give you your regiment, and that's where you go. So just say, I was ordered, and then you turn around, salute the guy, you turn around, you walk out, and the next day or the same day, depends on where you go, you're getting swooped up by the bus on the train, and then you're gone.
And where did you end up? So where were you posted?
12e Marie. So it was in the 2nd Regiment Étrangère Infantry. So there was a Nimes.
Okay, so in France.
Yeah. What was interesting, and that because of my teeth being removed at the back,
the wisdom teeth,
the wisdom tooth, they were removed. I was not allowed to go to Guyana.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they said there was something. It was a medical thing, if you had plates and stuff, breakages with plates, you can still go on as infantryman, but you're not allowed to go to Guyana.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, probably.
Yeah.
Because I know, like the German army, they are very quick with taking out your wisdom teeth prior going on to deployment, because they say, okay, the risk of something happening with them getting infected or whatever is too high,
Yeah.
and obviously on deployment you don't want to have major teeth issues. I was lucky enough until now to keep them, so we'll see how that goes on the next next couple of years.
Still very wise at this point in time.
Yeah. So then you pass basic training, going to your infantry unit. How would you go on to advanced infantry training, or how does it work?
Yeah, infantry training is you get your basic infantry training, which teaches you the ways to basic your how can I say, your formations, your shooting positions, your basic rule, urban warfare deployments, your all that has to come into play. And I definitely, the thing that caught my eye was not just being a normal infantryman. I mean, there's so much to play with. There's the Milan. There's so much 130s. These big mortars. I mean, there's so much to play with. But the thing that caught my eye was being a mechanized gunner, the mechanized infantry gunner.
Okay.
And so I ended up on the roof of one of the amphibious vehicles.
That's nice. You don't have to walk, so that's a good place to be.
I also thought I was smart at the beginning. Don't have to walk, but then on your road to being there, I forgot they make you carry everything. So it was horrible going through the process, because you had to carry a 50 caliber weapon. That thing is very, very heavy.
It is. So that was like a 50 cal on top, yeah? Browning probably, or French made.
Those days there was two different ones mounted. You had the 7.62 belt-fed machine gun, and then the 50s. And my vehicle had a 50 on.
Yeah, the 50. Is it the probably, I don't know? Is it like a Browning, the US .50, or as France?
Yeah, the US one. Yeah.
It's a very nice rhythm. I don't know why, but something like the rhythm, the sound of it shooting is something I do really enjoy listening to, or shooting myself.
It definitely has a better sound than the 7.62s, because they are so fast. It's just a brr, brr, and then you get this big thump. It goes gok, gok, gok.
Yeah. The perfect mixture is if you've got like a grenade machine launcher as well, somewhere in the setting that's plopping off as well. Very calming sounds.
They actually entered a couple of years later. They were introduced to the vehicles as well. And I actually saw after I came back, after I left, a lot of changes took place. They started unmanning the turrets and, put up the unmanned 50s and stuff. So no one is sticking out anymore. You're like actually sitting inside now.
Yeah, that was my job on my first. Yeah, that was my job on my first deployment, 2011. I was like a gunner as well, but sitting indoors, and you have like got like a what do you call it? Monitor, Bildschirm, English word for like a screen, and the joystick.
That's it.
You sit there in safety. You just have to risk your head going out, reloading and stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah. I kind of get down and low on the reloads, just hiding behind it. Try and hide behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
We didn't have those big plates, those stopping plates in front of us. It was totally open.
Yeah, not a good place to be. But on the other hand, the good thing is being like outside of these vehicles, or having the vehicles that aren't armored as heavy. So you've like our vehicles, these Mercedes-Benz, they don't have doors, nothing. You can observe your surroundings a lot better. That's definitely a big plus point. All these big armored vehicles, you're like in a little, like in a spaceship, so you can only see through a little window and see what's on the camera outside. So that's always the price for protection. Is always, I'm not as good as an observing anymore. So you ended up in one of these turrets with a .50.
No, that was great.
And so how was the unit knit? You still probably had mixed nationalities, all kinds of people.
So much. I mean, and in my years, there was it was an overflow of obviously the Russian, Polonais, Hungarian, Slovakian. That year, that was still Czechoslovakia, so it was the mix between the two. Yeah. So, but I think the Russians and stuff were the most at that time. They came in, the most of the guys. So yeah, most of our words would be, Alex would know. We would use Russian swear words a lot and put Russian words with the French because of the influence that was there. And I mean, especially with the Polonais as well, the Polish guys, they use the same swear words. So yeah, hence the swear words being from that area.
Yeah, so lots of East European. I imagine there's probably still lots of East Europeans nowadays. I would expect. I don't know how it's changed. Probably always changes from every 10 years, depending on what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Which people join.
Yeah, a friend of mine recently came back, and he told me that unfortunately, a lot of things changed, especially with uniforms and stuff. I mean, we had these awful leather boots, solid leather boots. Now, when he was in basic training, and they got Under Armour.
Oh, fancy.
Yes. So, and we had to buy our Gore-Tex. My jacket is just here in the garage. I had to buy it. It was a couple of $1,000, but we had to actually buy our better gear in my time. And and I hear now they get it.
Not worthy. So, yeah, how did your time? So I think you were in the Legion for, 5 years. Is that correct altogether?
Yeah.
Did you deploy with a Legion?
Yes. We went to, we first ended up in Djibouti for desert training, which was okay for me because, I mean, half my country is desert. And the Savannah part, which is also my country, which wasn't that bad. It was actually very nice for me to go back to warmer climates.
Yeah.
I love the winter, but yeah, it's just better this side.
Definitely.
So yeah, and then from there we went with the French Army de Terre, the medical corps, and yeah, some of the artillery brigades and stuff. We went to Mali because their military was next to nothing. They didn't even have ammunition at that time. So we had to bring stability and peace and try to, how can I say, deter Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab for taking over.
So this was 2000-ish? Is that like round about 2000?
No, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. Yeah.
Okay. So when the whole stuff kicked off anyway, worldwide, isn't it? Afghanistan, Iraq, it all.
Everything just went haywire those years. I mean, Liberia had a huge fighting in 2003. We were very small units deployed there as well in Liberia, just to the south. And I actually met two of my friends, which I know now in Namibia. He used to be a corporal for the Namibian Defense Force, for peacekeeping force that served in Liberia. I met him in 2006 in Namibia.
Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it? Somehow you meet people all over the place. So how did these deployments look like? What was your task? How was being deployed how was it for you? Like, obviously being deployed you've been at the police before, but still something different.
Yeah, this was totally different. I mean, these are areas which there's basically nothing left. Which was very difficult for me was the deployments between areas which is in the south is a jungle, and the north is a desert, like in Mali. And Sierra Leone, those places, everything is jungle. So, fighting rebels in this areas is merely the worst thing to do, because they sit 3 feet in front of you and you don't see them, because they live there. They know this area. And you get pushed around, have to do this mission, this mission, this mission. So you don't adapt to the area as good as they are. And especially with Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab, these guys live amongst the communities. I know the communities are in fear. They don't, not like they hide the people, because they are too scared to tell us about them. And our deployments was more peacekeeping and teaching than anything else. Unfortunately, I was not part of the teaching process. We were part of the process of basically hunting and pushing out the rebel groups.
Okay, so obviously jungle warfare is probably the most challenging of all terrains you can have. That's what I would say, and especially if you didn't have training prior. So I think you didn't do any jungle training prior to these deployments, but just like maybe
Not
a crash
me,
course.
No, we did everything in Djibouti, and there's no jungle in Djibouti.
No,
It's
just
sand. It's hot.
yeah. So yeah, being deployed, like mainly was it like all North Africa? I don't know. Were you around Afghanistan, Iraq? Was that something at all for the Legion?
No, they deployed after other groups that came after us. Like I said, our intake site from 2000s went all to North Africa. The guys who came in 2002 and stuff like that, they deployed then somewhere else. I only know of these other guys that came in, deployed to Central Republic and also Central Africa and stuff. I actually don't know, or I didn't have any contact with guys that went to Afghanistan or Iraq.
Okay, yeah, interesting enough.
I just know one of my basic training sergeants. He used to be a platoon leader in Iraq. So
okay, so yeah, the Legion was there at some stage. Yeah, but it's interesting because that's like something it's not too well known. Like all these little African things, there's something going on. But yeah, France obviously being well into the African continent at some time, having lots of colonies there. That's why France is probably a lot more active than like anyone else in Northern Africa.
Yes. Definitely. It's more northwest, and then starting to go down to Chad and those areas. That's mainly where I worked in.
So you then, I think you did like the minimum tour at the Legion is 5 years, I think, isn't it? You have to do 5 years, and then it's the first time.
Yeah, you have to complete your 5 years. Then they give you the option for French citizenships, and then you live there your happy life further. But yeah, all of us, everybody I know, just went back home.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a few guys who stayed. I mean, the guys who needed to stay, obviously, they took the chance. But the guys who was there because they wanted to be there, they, after the 5 years, everybody kind of went back home.
Okay, so did you consider staying there, or was it like for you the whole time, hey, I want to do this thing, I want to take this adventure, I want to take the whole experience, but after the 5 years, I'm definitely going to go back home, I'm going to do something else or carry
actually,
on?
I have a daughter that stage, so I had to come back to do my father job.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that was my main vision. But yeah, after a while, after thinking about it, you think quite long and hard about it. And then it's difficult if you are there and you have to transition your whole family over to especially France, where she's already in a school, 5 years old, that type of thing. It's already here. So the whole transition thing, I was thinking about it, and I just decided, nah, I'd rather go back and then see what I can do there.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's always the daughters that bring you back place. That's the same story with me. That's why I left the German military at all, is because of my daughter as well. So I can definitely understand. And that's a different situation. France, Namibia, it's
Yeah.
culture change. Before we then go on maybe to like transitioning back home and what kind of stuff you're doing now, I would try to get these questions answered. Some people are interested in from a foreign legion before we tick it off. But one thing we already did, that was like the do you get a fake identity? You already said that's how it went.
Yeah.
The next one would be gear. How would you, especially from your point of view now, how good or decent was the gear you were issued with?
Our old school gear was rough, but it was good. I mean, I worked with the FAMAs. I hear the new guys got the M4s and stuff. So we worked with the FAMAs, which is a extremely accurate rifle. The only issue we had with it, it's a bull pump. So the magazine is at the back. So when you shoot, all the gas comes out and your vision is just impaired.
Okay.
Every time you shoot quite some time. Yes, we do get the throwaways of the French army, especially the vehicles. Our vehicles were very, very old. They were beaten, but, after the years, they slowly replaced the old ones. So it was a constant mechanical, how can I say, checkup, test, stuff like that, especially in Mali, where the dust is as fine as powder. I mean, I wore 2 balaclavas and my teeth were brown and black after a day. So it was just horrible. And these vehicles were like 20, 30 years old. So we had to clean them with air every day. So, yeah, but the equipment nowadays the equipment is immaculate. I mean, my years, it was old school, older equipment, but we made do and it's good equipment.
Is it like, you just said you bought like a Gore-Tex? Is that something that was like standard, that you still bought your own gear at some stages? Like, I need new boots, I need a new different chest rig or different magazine pouches, or was that not too common in those days?
Well, those days, like I say, the specialized gear, if you want to have the cool gear, you would have to purchase it. But after a while, they started issuing all the new stuff coming in. Like where on our farmers, we started having the front grip underneath, and the trigger guard was started to get, bigger. It's not the small one around the trigger. So it started getting bigger all the way from the body to the bottom of your grip. And but I mean, pouches and those stuff, you obviously, if you want Blue Force gear or whatever, you had to purchase it yourself, as long as it goes with a uniform.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I don't know about this one. I don't know if it's like an insider. How many times did you have to stand on the table? That's something you.
We did it quite often, but it was in early basics, and yeah. But
I wouldn't even know what it is about. Someone asked, I don't know what is it all about.
No, it's just you have to stand and then you have to chant on the table, and so they would like to show, you don't know anything, and then you need to stand on this table and chant a song. But I mean, it was early stages, so you would know 1 or 2 verses, and then the rest you don't know, and then you get beaten. You get beaten up again, and then you just know if you have to be there. It's not a fun way down.
Okay, now I get it. Yeah, someone has some inside information, so he's asking those kind of questions. Okay. This is a nice question, definitely, because like my what I do now, my company with other trainers, we prepare people for military, police selection, and so on. What would you say is the main fitness focus for somebody who says, I want to go to the Foreign Legion in half a year? What should he focus on? What's the main thing they want to have?
Well, if you have a basic, how can I say, your 2.5 is 12 minutes and stuff like that, you can do a decent amount of push-ups, sit-ups. pull-ups. Work on your mentality first. Your mental fitness is the most important thing. That's the thing that breaks you, not your body. I mean, you can let a guy run up and down a hill for just so much before the body just breaks down. But it's your mentality that pushes you through. It is being mentally fit.
And that's an even better question out of, I don't know if you have a quick answer for how would he do this? Because this is like the big question going around I see on the internet. There's lots of how do I train my mentality?
Yeah.
How do I get this bulletproof mindset? How do I do this stuff? And my personal opinion is, first of all, just what you said as well, you have to want it enough. So if you want something enough, that's definitely a big player. And then do hard things again and again, and take like little steps. Do the first challenge, take the second challenge, and every time you challenge yourself and you've done something hard and you've survived it and you're proud of yourself, it builds this mentality. And that's how I go about it. I would like to hear your take, how you would recommend a young man on his way to France to get ready mentally.
It's difficult to say, because I've been from very, very early age being that I want to do it. Let's see what is the hardest way to do something, and then do it the hard way. Get hurt, find out, and then do it the proper way. But like I said, I always wanted to do stuff the hard way. From an early age, we worked with our fathers in the bush and stuff like that. So our mentality is totally different from a young age. But it's difficult for me to say you have to be positive all the time. You have to have this positive thinking all the time, because it just doesn't come. One day it will hit you, and then you go, yeah, okay, here I am. It's like I said, okay, I want to be first in this pipe full of water. When you're in that pipe, you're the first one who wants to get out. There's a switch that goes, and like I say, I must be honest, there's a lot of times that I just wanted to go, that I just wanted to leave, because I don't need to be there. But my mentality of wanting it took over too much. So it pushed me more for being there than rather, just leaving everything.
Yeah, I love these words, because this is what I am all about. This is what I want to have, is people being honest that have done hard stuff, and to say, obviously, I did not enjoy it. And I thought about maybe not doing it anymore and having this inner battle with, oh, come on, just leave, or fake an injury or whatever. There's lots of different thoughts going through your mind. And I think lots of people on the internet, they just roll with this motivation thing, and they just pretend that they never thought that way. And maybe it is that way. I don't know. Everyone thinks different.
I think I gave up maybe thousands of times during anything, even just sitting still. I gave up, but the want to be there, just that's the thing that took over.
Yeah, really good, really good. So everyone who's listening, that's what I would say as well. Wanting something enough makes everything possible. And if you break down too early, then you maybe didn't want it. Then you just wanted to have a helicopter ride, and not the whole thing, what belongs to it.
Exactly. That's what I said. I really didn't have the, if I could say, the balls to go to 12e Rep. I don't want the chopper ride. I know that I knew that was so hard work. But then again, the infantry was also hard work. But it's different. The way this guy spoke to you, you just realize, okay, shit, I'm not built for this. I'm that guy. And then that guy was twice as hard as what I would have gone through in the parachute regiment. So, you have to weigh the two up, and then you will find out, okay, it's not that bad.
Cool. And I think it's probably quite a lot of running. I think the French are definitely very known for running. The French military at all, they love running.
Shit, they love it. They love it. I mean, everything is built around it. They've got, even on a Saturday where you're supposed to be laid back and everything. Oh, no, put on your colors, and there you go. On a run we go.
So, yeah, that's a good tip. Get running, get your basics sorted out, pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and take your time to figure out why you want to do it. and go for it. Probably.
Yeah, I would say your physical is less than 50%. You will get there. They will make you run a lot. You will get fit. That's not the issue. The issue is your mental strength.
Okay, yeah, nice.
That's your worst enemy.
The mind. The next one would be, which is the best regiment in the, whatever best would be meaning?
The infantry.
The infantry. Well done.
Definitely.
Did you work with any foreign units? Is there any, like, you've worked with, I don't know, Polish, Italian, German, British units whilst your time in the Legion?
Yes, there was a medical corps from, who are these guys? I think they're the British, and then the Namibian Defence Force as well with United Nations.
Okay, on deployment they were with you, yeah.
Yeah. But that was just we work alongside them. We didn't do missions with them as per se. I know the medical corps we had a convoys from South Mali to North Mali, so we had to basically protect the convoy because it was medical equipment and medical aid and some food aid and stuff.
So there wasn't too much like training and exercise with other units, having like a squad of your guys going somewhere and like exchanging.
No, that was more, that came in afterwards, and then it was more Army de Terre, the French army.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more their line. They kept us a bit separate, as I can say.
Yeah, the Foreign Legion, the bad boys, keep them away from publicity and
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, really, really good stuff. We've been talking for quite a while, but would still like to just like shortly go through. You transitioned out, you went back home, Namibia. Obviously, you went. Was it 2003? You left.
Say again, sorry.
Was it 2003 you left then, or 2004?
No, 2005.
2005. Okay, so then back.
2005, I was back in Namibia.
And then you picked up work, I think we can say, like in private military sector, being all around in that kind of trade.
Yeah, we went. Yeah, basically what I did is I came first to back to Namibia where my family was. So I enlisted in the municipal police. So basically this police unit is not countrywide; it is city. So it's only for the cities. And so what I did was we started a specialized unit for violent crimes. In Namibia, there wasn't much, so it was a bit boring. And then after, I think, I must go think now. So I think around about 9 or 10 years, I'm out. And no, sorry, I left 8 years later, and then I transitioned into the private security sector.
And yeah, obviously that's a big branch with lots of different things you can do, and we don't have to go into too much detail, but you've been round and about in Africa doing all kinds of stuff in this trade now for the last couple of years.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I went to a big company in South Africa, which then we worked South Africa. Mainly we did transportation of valuables. And at that time, the crime rate was so much. We were even used by the police services as anti-riot units to help them because they just didn't have enough people or funds for ammunition and arms and stuff. And then I also, with a different company, because we worked as private contractors. So basically what happened is you get contracted to go do security work on in very dangerous areas of the specific country that you go to in Africa.
So your background being a Legionär before is probably like a door open in this sector, I would believe, something they definitely enjoyed seeing on your
Yeah,
CV, like, oh, okay, nice. We can
yeah,
definitely use a guy like you because you've had, I don't want to say that I don't have proper training, but obviously you've had training from a proper military that's been around for hundreds of years, skilled.
yeah. It's a faster transition, I can say. Basically, it's just getting boots on the ground quicker. Taking ex-military guys than taking a dude from school. He needs first this experience. You put him in this area, which is totally different to the military. Military has got backup. Military has got artillery. Military has got air force. Now you're in a sector where you only rely on the dude next to you. That's all backup you have. And if your 12 magazines are gone, they're gone. So you're out.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people would see it a bit too romantically, like this private military contractor thing. But if you go into detail, there's lots of stories where things went wrong. And as you said, because
Yes.
you are on your own, more or less. There's no big camp, there's no QRF coming, there's no helicopters coming. So it's a very, very high risk job, depending on obviously where you're operating in. And
Yeah.
just for everyone who wants to go into that sector, just keep it in mind. Your skills will be tested, so better have a lot of
Definitely.
skills.
I mean, you must also be wary. This is Africa. I mean, your companies are not. You need to do your background check on these companies. Some of the companies, they will turn their backs and say, we don't know this person, and because you are just a contractor at the end of the day. So my advice would be do your homework on a company and be very wary of who you work for. I was lucky enough to work for two great companies. So they taught me a lot. And I love it.
Yeah, especially what I would always say doing like background checks, depending on what your moral compass is to know who you are working for and what is the whole
Yeah.
point of it. Obviously, there's enough people who don't care. Feel free; they just want to do what they want to do.
Mm,
But like most of us, or myself, definitely would want to know why am I doing this job and for what cause is it. Wouldn't want to end
exactly.
on the wrong side of the whole thing where you think, I think I shouldn't have been being doing this. Uh, yeah. So, are you still active in that place? I know you're still doing some stuff around, but are you trying to do something else now in Namibia, building different education training?
Well, we started our own company, me and a friend of mine from Germany. So we started our own company, which will be then more into training and educating. Um, because a big thing that's running around in Africa is anti-poaching, which is poaching is basically when people take or kill animals that doesn't belong to them or illegally. So especially rhinos for the horns. So that is a very big problem, and it is a very big, how can I say, cartel business. It is a very big money making business. It's even better paid than cocaine.
Oh,
So yeah, the cocaine industry took a big dump, especially here in Namibia, South Africa, because of the rhino horns. And so safeguarding them is basically also a military thing. We use military tactics to safeguard these animals. We give military training to the rangers because it is definitely, especially in our bush, it is not people that doesn't know what they are doing. Some of them are soldiers and even ex-soldiers from African countries.
yeah, I could imagine everywhere where there's money and people are willing to lend their service for money, you're going to have
Yeah,
experts, not just people running around.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
easy maths. Okay, so cool. So like, for me to imagine a ranger, he's not like a police, he's not a military. It's an own little branch, isn't it? Like being a Namibian ranger,
Yeah,
and then
we call them rangers because the word ranger for protecting wildlife, protecting land. And, it is something, it is not just a police officer or someone like that. This guy basically can survive on his own in the bush without food or water. He can survive. He knows how to take a animal track, a human track, follow this track, and then act accordingly when he gets engaged. So it is a vast, how can I say, area that he needs to get training on.
Yeah, definitely. Like, as I said, surviving, shooting, medical skills. I think that's a big thing. Yeah, really, really, really good stuff. We've talked about a couple of things beforehand as well, but I think we've done 90 minutes now. We could more or less cut it here, and definitely can carry on, do a second show, going more into things, see what people ask for, because I think you've still got a lot more stories or interesting stuff to tell. But I think 90 minutes is a good time frame for people to listen. So I would say, if you've got any last words, maybe for someone who is thinking about doing something similar, maybe saying, okay, I want to join, it doesn't have to be the Legion, going to some kind of unit, police, military, go on to selection. You have maybe some last words of wisdom you can maybe give him on his way. That would be much appreciated, and then I'll let you go.
I would say being prepared. Look into the unit, look into what you want to do, especially do a little bit of homework. Do you want to be there? What's your general feeling? Will this be a long-term thing, or will this be a 5 or 2 year thing just to open other doors for you? If not, get the education within the system that you're going into. I mean, like military has got different branches that you can, IT, medical. After the medical, you can actually, I hear of a lot of guys who make their own emergency company, ambulance transport companies, after being in the military and doing the medical side. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to learn a lot of things. But prepare yourself mentally and physically.
Yes,
because even the basic ranger training, we're going to put you through hell. Just because you need to have the discipline. This is a bush. This is not a place for a holiday. There's dangerous animals. I mean, we're in Africa. There's leopards, snakes, scorpions. There's a lot of things that bite and will not leave you alone. So,
Really good advice, definitely. And as you said, a whole different world down there with the wildlife. That's one of the few things I really do enjoy here in Central Europe. Is there's no real animals gonna get you here, so pretty safe and secure. I'm not a big snake or spider fan, or being poisoned by anything weird. I'm not into that, so that's pretty good here. But I could do with a bit more sunshine, so that's the price I'm paying. All right, then. I'll just do like a German outro. I think I'll just do it on here, and then I'll stop the recording. Also, liebe Freunde, wenn ihr bis jetzt drangeblieben seid, 93 Minuten haben wir gesprochen. Ich denke, das war mehr als interessant, was der Jean-Pierre hier zu erzählen gehabt hat. Sehr ehrliche Worte, sehr bodenständig, sehr viel erlebt, und die Denkweise, wie er mit den Sachen umgegangen ist, denke ich, für den einen oder anderen durchaus interessant. Ich kann mich dann den Worten nur anschließen. Setzt euch damit auseinander, warum ihr etwas machen wollt. Und wenn das Warum stark genug ist, dann könnt ihr das einfach mal durchziehen. Und bis dahin, dann hören wir uns in der nächsten Folge.